All right. This is Randy Chase. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. The Board for Licensing Contractors, May the 19th, 2020 meeting. And we'll do a quick roll call.
Okay, yes. Andy Allen,
Here, sorry.
Mark Brudd,
Here.
Jerry Hayes,
Here.
Benny Jones,
Here.
Reese Smith,
Here.
Ronnie Tickle,
Here.
Keith Whittington,
Here.
and Randy Chase.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. And I will check on our participants. I'm Carolyn Lazenby. Do we have Kathy Holloman? Okay, Rhonda Magnuson,
Yes.
Gina Odom,
This is Dennis. She's trying to get on right now.
okay, and we got Dennis, Jesse Gentry,
I'm here.
and we also, I'd like to introduce our newest attorney, and that's Elizabeth Bendel. Did I say that right, Elizabeth?
You did. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, Ashley has accepted a promotion, and Elizabeth has took over, and so far she's been doing a great job helping us, and so we're looking forward to working with her more. And I believe that we do have some members of the public on, but I won't introduce those right now. Randy, if you want to, I guess we need to go ahead and adopt the agenda and then the minutes, and then we'll go. Or I guess I need to do the statement of necessity first. Let me go ahead and do that. I think I listed it wrong on the agenda, but I'll go ahead and do a statement of necessity to have that on record. Board for Licensing Contractors is meeting by electronic means to conduct essential business as authorized by Governor Lee's Executive Order number 16 and extended by Executive Order number 34. This is considered a reasonable measure to protect the safety and welfare to the citizens while ensuring government business may continue in a manner that is open and accessible to the public. All votes by the board will be by roll call. Okay, and then Randy, you can go ahead and take over, and we'll start with adopting the agenda.
Okay, great. Thanks, Carolyn, and welcome to Elizabeth. We appreciate you being with us, and welcome to the group here. Yeah, can we get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion, Ronnie.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Carolyn?
Okay. Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Benny Jones,
Yes.
Reese Smith,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
and Randy Chase.
Yes.
Yes, that's it.
All right, I guess we'll do the same thing on the approval of the meetings from, or minutes from the last meeting in March.
Move for approval, Reese. Second, Ronnie.
We have
Call. Oh, sorry.
go ahead, Carolyn.
Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Benny Jones,
Yes.
Reese Smith,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
and Randy Chase.
Yes. All right. So moving on to licenses and stuff, I'm going to try to go through these fairly quickly and try to lump some of them together. If I get ahead of myself, or if there's something that someone wants to discuss, feel free to stop me or whatever, Carolyn. If I get something wrong, let me know. So the first is the hardships and temporary license request. Just need a motion to approve and ratify those as submitted.
So move. It's Jerry.
Second, this is Keith.
Okay. Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Benny Jones,
Yes.
Reese Smith,
Reese, you muted?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Ronnie Tickle,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
Randy Chase.
Yes. Okay. In the next line item, let's go ahead and get approval for the waived and the revisions, and then we'll move into the interviews or applications that we need to discuss. So can I get a motion to approve the waived and the revisions?
I make a motion, Benny.
Second, Mark.
Carolyn? Good.
Roll call. Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Benny Jones,
Yes.
Reese Smith,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
Randy Chase.
Yes. Okay. Now there was a list in one of the attachments that that Carolyn and Kathy sent out that noted some as interviewed, and I think we came up with applications with factors, which was an interesting way to word it. But if you can go to that list and we can go through those individually. The first one is one that Keith looked at. It's file number 74767, Jefferson or Jeffer and Sons Construction. Keith, you want to talk about that one?
I'm trying to find it. Randy, go ahead and come back to that.
Okay. Reese, do you have it in front of you? The next one was a home improvement 9597 911 water damage experts of Mid-South.
I don't have it in front, but I generally remember the situation, and I think I recommended Catherine, you can tell me a $1,000 fine, or he can come into our next meeting. He is definitely he needs a license. He's like Surf Pro and Service Master, those people, and they all have license. He does the same type of work. In my opinion, he needs a license, and he's been contracting without a license.
Okay.
Hey, this is Ronnie.
All right,
And let me ask a question, Reese. This guy is, I don't know if we're trying to get him approved now, or are we holding on until he pays a fine before we approve him on home improvement? We got a list of people for home improvement, and he appears on that list also.
Okay, I didn't pick up on that, but yes, I think if we can do that, Counselor, then we need to hold till he satisfies this complaint.
I agree. We can hold until he complies.
Okay,
It's the fifth one down on your home improvement, so.
all right. That's my recommendation.
Second.
Okay. So we're okay with giving him the license, just he needs to settle the fine and get that behind him.
Correct.
All right. The next one was one that Carolyn and I and Dennis have been working with, the Redeemers Group. Sort of an unusual thing. This group had a home improvement license, and they had a complaint that they're working through from about a year ago. In the meantime, they filed for a new BCA license to upgrade their license, and we approved it because we didn't catch that those two were related to each other. So we approved his new license. In that process of applying for the license, though, he admitted that he had done some work over the $25,000. Dennis, do you want to take over from here and kind of before I mess it up?
Sure. Now you're describing it pretty accurately, I'd say. They originally had well, they still do have an open complaint under their home improvement license related to workmanship, and that's already been. There's already a consent order that's in their hands, and they're in civil litigation. So it's one of those that we had placed in litigation monitoring. But yes, in the process of them applying for the BCA license, they didn't disclose the home improvement complaint that was open, even though they did say in their letter that they had exceeded the 25,000 limit in the past. So really, at this point, it's just a matter of this. This could have gone on another legal report, but in the interest of expediency, it really just the board would probably be in a position just to um, vote on just giving them a consent order on the exceeding the limit that's unrelated to the workmanship complaint, if that makes any sense.
We would just open up a new complaint with what we were thinking was maybe $1,000 civil
Exactly.
penalty, and have that that they would have to address that while we're monitoring the other issue. Obviously, we would not have approved this. I'm the one that approved the license. I did not catch the fact that they had the home improvement license, so we would have flagged it. So now I think what we're doing is recommending that we civil penalty of $1,000. They've got to address that while they're doing this litigation deal from a year or so ago. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Well, that's what we'll put in that slot there. Any other questions about that one? Okay. The next one was one Andy looked at. Andy, it was 74292 Knoxet in Knoxville, Tennessee. There was an open complaint, and talk about that one.
Yeah, so there was an open complaint, but the bottom line to this one is the falsifying information on an application. So this lady's got an LLE now and also an LLE in the city of Knoxville, and I've been working with the city of Knoxville through this as well. And she has applied for her full CE license. Well, in doing so, she put a letter of reference from Biddle and Sons. The complaint was that the letter of reference was falsified from another business partner, which doesn't matter. So I called Biddle and Sons. I sent them the letter, asked them if they wrote it, asked the secretary if she wrote it. The guy that signed the letter and the guy that writes all their letters both said they have never seen this letter before. And they actually found the letter 3 years prior that they had, or better, from somehow copied and pasted his signature into a letter they written. So it was totally falsified. So the complaint's legit. The reference letter author, supposedly author, also, verified that was definitely a forged letter and he did not write it. So I definitely think we should deny that one. I also think, I don't know if we want to do any criminal charges. It says to do that on our application, but I don't know if we want to go there. But we definitely can't have people falsifying applications. So my recommendation was to pull her LLE, not let her have the CE, and this spoke to the city of Knoxville, and they agree with me that if we pull her LLE, they will as well.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
I'll second that. It's Mark.
Okay. All right. Keith, did you find your 74767 Jeffer and Sons Construction?
Randy, I did. And this applicant applied for a license originally for a $500,000 limit. He only qualified for a $1,000 limit as he only had $100 in assets. And to me, that just takes our licensing rules a little too far When you've only got $100 in the bank, I don't think you really need a license. So it was my recommendation to deny the license based upon financial records.
Okay. I agree. All right. Any other discussion on that one? Yeah, we had one more that was one that I looked at. It was on the next page. It was Himes Plumbing Partnership. Seems like this guy Grayson Himes has a plumbing company that seems to be very fairly successful, and it just appeared that he decided he wanted to be a general contractor, and so he applied for BC A and B, and he has no experience whatsoever. I mean, like we even asked him. He said, "Well, I've been on a couple of whatever where I was doing the plumbing, and so." Recommending that we deny that, and he needs to get a home improvement license, or work for somebody in the construction business or whatever, the general construction business, and come back with some additional experience. All right, so that's all the applications with factors, as we call them. So can I get a motion to approve those as presented today?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. I'll do a roll call. Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Reese Smith,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
Randy Chase.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. The next item is on the list or on the agenda is the LLEs, LLPs, and the home improvement licenses. Can I get a motion to approve those as presented, or if there's any discussion?
I think we don't have the approvals for the LLEs. I noticed they were blank, so on the list. So I guess Andy, on the LLE list, were there any that you denied?
No, they're all approved, and I emailed, I think it's last night, but yes, they're all approved.
Okay, good. Then nothing else is needed then.
All right. So do we have a motion?
This is Keith. So moved.
Second.
Do a roll call. Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Benny Jones,
Yes.
Reese Smith,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
and Randy Chase.
Yes. All right. We'll move on to the list. Dennis and Jesse and Elizabeth.
All right, perfect. I can start. I've got a few cases where we had some changes. I know I heard from Mark Brudd about a couple of cases he had some questions on, but I wasn't sure if you wanted to make changes to those ones. But I guess when I get to those numbers, I can ask Mark specifically. But starting with number 8 on the legal report, the original recommendation was to authorize the assessment of a $1,000 penalty by consent order. The decision was to authorize the assessment of a $500 civil penalty by consent order. Number 15, the recommendation was either a letter of warning or a $500 civil penalty for unlicensed home improvement activity. The decision was to do a letter of warning instead. Number 29, the recommendation was either close or do a letter of instruction to encourage the respondent to use written contracts with customers. The decision was to go with that letter of instruction. Number 71, the recommendation was a letter of warning or authorize the assessment of a $500 penalty for unlicensed home improvement. The decision was to go with the letter of warning. And then I had 2 cases, Mark, that we had talked a little bit about. Number 97 and 101, Did you want to discuss those or go into change the recommendation?
No,
or change anything?
Your clarifications, I think, took care of my questions. So there was one other one that Dennis had that he clarified, so I don't have any questions on it either.
Okay, perfect. And then I know Dennis has some changes to read into the record as well. Dennis, do you want to pick up those?
Yeah. All right. So starting with number 3 on the report, that's 2020 006701. That was marked originally for discussion, and the decision on that is close the complaint and have counsel monitor the matter with the complainant respondent. And that one, there is no litigation. However, there were some issues relating to the respondent allegedly exceeding the monetary limit that probably is something we want to at least keep tabs on. So that decision is to close and monitor. And then I'll move on to the next one. Number 12, 2020 01 2101. There was a recommendation for either a cease and desist letter or authorize the assessment of a $1,000 civil penalty by consent order, and the decision is to send a cease and desist letter. Moving on then to number 17, 2020 008331. The recommendation was also it was marked for discussion, but the decision is to authorize the assessment of a $1,000 civil penalty by consent order and formal charges for violation of 626118. That's dealing with negligence or incompetence. And then moving on to, let's see, number 30, 2020 01 3541. The recommendation was letter of warning or authorize the assessment of a $500 civil penalty by consent order and formal charges for unlicensed contracting. There, the decision is to issue a letter of warning for the unlicensed contracting.
Excuse me, did you mention 15 and 29?
15 and 29, I don't know, that might have been.
I did. 15 and 29 were mine. It was the letter of warning and that letter of instruction.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I thought those might have been Jesse's. I'm going to scroll down a little farther on my report. I think I might have one other I need to address. Just give me just a second. Number 100, 2020 01 6851. There, the original recommendation was authorize the assessment of a $1,000 civil penalty by consent order and formal charges for unlicensed contracting, and the decision is authorize the assessment of a $2,000 civil penalty by consent order and formal charges for violation of 626103 unlicensed contracting. I believe that concludes all the changes to any of the complaints I had.
Anybody else have any comments about the legal report?
This is Ronnie. I didn't, number 44, and I didn't turn it in, but I was just looking at it. Y'all did a real good report. It's hard for me to find anything, so my wife made me do it again. So on 44, we have authorized an assessment of a $500 civil penalty. I think we need to flag this as well as give the penalty. He's already had one complaint, and he's got an outstanding consent order from last year, and he's building without a license, so I think we just need to watch him and flag him. I don't know what we can do, but anyway. That's number 44.
Okay, I see. That's one of mine.
And that's yours, Dennis.
Okay. Anything else?
I do have a question, Randy, if I can ask one for the board real fast. We're getting a number of complaints against home improvement contractors who are licensed that are going above that limit. Normally, when we have our unlicensed contractors hearings, they're in front of the administrative law judge alone. Does the board have any guidance on, because technically it's unlicensed contracting, but if they have an active home improvement contractor's license, would you prefer that those individuals are brought before the board for a hearing, or do you still want them heard by the administrative law judge alone?
Anyone have any comments about that?
We are limited, if I'm correct, as to how much we can fine them in any case for that typical violation. Is that not right?
Well, if it's unlicensed contracting, at that point, it would be $5,000.
Do you guys pursue the $5,000 when you do these before ALJ?
For the unlicensed contracting, I always put in my findings of fact that I'm requesting a $5,000 penalty. Unless there's more violations, and it's $5,000 per violation, and the judge, sometimes will go down from that, but that's always my starting point when I'm putting it in front of the judge.
So what
I
do you
don't think
ask?
we need to always bring a home improvement and take up our time.
Well, and that's the question, because I think, if they have a home improvement contractor's license, if we wanted to have that license revoked, I think at that point that might have to go in front of the board unless you wanted to give that authority to the judge sitting alone. But otherwise, we'd be able to seek that $5,000 penalty, and they'd be able to keep that license.
This is Ronnie. Are we collecting it $5,000? Are we winning? Are we just playing?
Well, normally we're winning on these unlicensed contractor ones. I haven't had one where they've ruled against us, but I don't know if we're necessarily collecting on all of them.
Okay.
But we are sending them to collections agencies, and they're not paying.
Okay.
I don't see any reason to change it the way what's happening now. Does anybody else?
No, I don't. If they're pursuing the maximum we could get, I'm with Reese. I don't see why we need to bring them before us.
This is Ronnie. I agree.
Okay.
Ms. Mark, I also agree.
All right.
Thank you. I think that makes sense. That's some good clarification. I've got a couple right now where that's what we're looking at, so we'll be setting it that way then. So thank you.
All right. If there's not any more discussion about the legal report, can I get a motion to approve the legal report as presented?
Motion.
Second.
Any?
Carolyn?
Roll call. Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Rennie Jones,
Yes.
Reese Smith,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
and Randy Chase.
Yes. All right. Okay, the next part of the agenda, I'm going to kind of turn over to Carolyn to talk about about the licensing and testing as a follow-up to what she sent us via email. Carolyn?
PSI is up and running. They are doing their test again at most of their sites throughout Tennessee. There's a couple that will start in July, like I believe it's in Dyersburg and Johnson City, but they are testing right now. And they did we had a Zoom, a telephone conference meeting with PSI to discuss remote testing, or I think they call it online proctoring. And it looks, there is technology that they have. They can use that software to detect any kind of cheating based on their eye movements, or they can tell if somebody else is in the room. They do like web scan. They take their laptop and do a webcam scan of the room. They do that periodically while testing. They're not the table. They can't have a cell phone. They also have software that locks their browser. So while they're taking the exam with PSI, they can't like Google look up answers, things like that. They have like a virtual scratch paper. So there's nothing where they can, take notes and write down the questions, things like that. So they predicted this would be the way of the future, maybe the next 5 years. That's how all their testing will be. It does require special, I don't guess you call it special software. You have to have a laptop, or you have to have internet service that will be compatible with their system for them to download the exam on there. And but it takes 3 to 6 months to put it in place. And places for government to do online testing. They don't have it for contractors, but I know for other states are wanting to move to that. And I just want to see if our board is interested in going ahead and having them set it so people can start doing, I guess you call it remote test. That's something you're interested in. I have any questions from anybody? Is anybody opposed to
I think that it's a wonderful thing, and I for one think that we need to endorse the use of this and keep the licensing board, current and ahead of the game as far as it goes for our testing.
The only concern that I would have is we have an open book test with about, 10 or 15 reference manuals. So I don't know how they proctor all that.
Any other thoughts?
Carolyn, did they mention how they handled the materials for open book tests?
Yeah, they said that it was something that that was more of a challenge if you keep the exam as an open book, in which you all probably will want to with the codes and everything, but they can have the people hold it up to look at it. If you don't have a pencil, if you don't allow them to have a pencil, they can't make notes in it. But hold up, they would have to hold it up, shake it, and flip through it for notes, things like that. So that would be a challenge.
I agree. For the CE test, that's going to be hard. There's a lot of reference books, and you're talking about books that are 300 pages thick.
If you're supposed to keep your hands on the keyboard all the time, I don't know how they would monitor that. Plus, if you're doing takeoffs or something, people like to write or mark on them or whatever they do. That could be another difficult proctoring.
Do you think we should ask Carolyn and her group to maybe investigate it a little more and maybe revisit it the next meeting and ask those questions about what they've run into as far as those materials in other states and that kind of thing, and maybe report back to us.
I can
Yes.
ask PSI, they're willing presentation, or I can have them do it the next meeting.
I think that sounds good. That helped maybe ease some concerns and maybe provide the answers we're looking for.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Keith. I think we want to stay up with the. Go ahead, Carolyn. I'm sorry.
I was skeptical about it as well when we the meeting with P because we could ever do that, but they had so many good ideas and things in place with the modern software. I think you all should meet with them, online, and you can pose those questions, and they could, it might be that I don't know if you would want it to not be online. I mean, not online, but using reference, which might be that you could download the reference books. I don't know with them in them packages that way virtually. So it, they had a lot of information, and they can probably be better at answering it for you. So I can get them set up for the next meeting.
Do we have to wait till July?
Elizabeth, could we have like a meeting?
Yeah, you'd have to have a special meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Carolyn, we'll look into that and see if you can line that up for the next meeting, or if we need to have a special meeting and ask if they can. I'm sure they've been asked these questions before, but it'd be good for everybody to understand how that's going to work. Because I agree with everybody. The plumbing codes book and the mechanical code, all those manuals are pretty. They're typically in like 3-ring binders and that kind of thing. So I mean, it's going to be a pretty big undertaking.
Okay. And then the next thing, wanted to give you a little bit of a licensing update. Our renewals seem to be on track for coming in, but we've noticed a decrease in the initial licensing coming in. It was down, 34%, but I really don't think that's too bad for what everything was going on. Like they couldn't test, and a lot of them didn't have access to CPA, so we still got in several applications. It was just that amount was down. Our revenue seems to be okay as far as from what it was from last year, but there's something that we are watching, and do have an applicant from Italy, and I think Chris Cravens is also on the line. He can discuss if we have questions for him. And also Keith Whittington, I think, is looked at this information as well. We have an applicant in Italy is unable to make it to the States to take the exam. So Keith, do you want to go ahead and?
Yes, Carolyn, I will. I spoke with Chris Cravens about this, and I'm not certain if it's one applicant. I think it's 3. And Electrolux is building a large addition to their facility down there just north of Nashville. And according to Chris, these companies, and we all know they can't get out of Italy to even get over here to take our test. Now, we have just recently, reopened our testing facilities. So if they could get over here, they could take the test. But it's kind of a time sensitive matter. I asked the question, the companies are not in a competitive bid situation, that the actual product that they are installing for Electrolux is, they're the only ones in the world that make these products and install them. So basically what they do is they come in and install the product. Any mechanical work that needs to be done is done by separate licensed subcontractors. Once all the equipment's installed and running, then they provide education for the company, and then they leave them with the product and move on. It's my opinion, after listening to Chris and talking to him, that we could go ahead and grant these folks a temporary license based upon that they get in here when they can and take the exams required of them and pass them, and go ahead and not stop this work, because it's going to mean about 1,000 jobs to that area north of Nashville. I can't remember the name of the county, but at any rate, I do believe that this is something that we need to allow.
What classification are they applying for, Keith?
I would think it would be a specialty in equipment installation.
The only test we're talking about is just the business knowledge.
Yes, I think so.
Any other questions? So what do we need to do, Carolyn? Do we need to just vote on granting this license, or do we, what's the next step?
I guess we could, I don't know if we need a full vote. I guess it'd be best to just go ahead and have the board vote that that Keith could approve the temporary license without the exam. I think that might be the best way to do it.
Once they get over here?
Right.
My idea of it is something along the lines of our temporary license that we're granting for the storm work that's going on around Nashville and Chattanooga areas. And that would be that we give them 6 months to get the test taken.
Okay. I'm good with that. Any other discussion?
The only thing I will say to that is Chris may be jumping up and down, I don't know, is how long it takes before Italy will let them out of the country. The one thing I have seen is that Italy is starting to open up and allow some travel. So I would think companies of that type of influence should be able to manage to get over here in that length of time. But if not, maybe they could, at the end of 6 months, if they hadn't got over here, we could allow an extension.
Seems like by then, if they're going to hire that many people, they're all got to be people that live here that somebody could take the test. They got to hire a plant manager or something.
Okay. Any other discussion? A motion that approved temporary license for whatever the name of I don't know the name of the company or anything.
This is Ronnie. We need to be sure we put that 6 months in. I'm like Reese. If somebody ought to be able to take it, if they can't get anybody over here.
I'll make sure I do that if I grant the license. I'm sure I'll get the application and whatever. I don't even know the name of the companies myself, but I will make sure that that's taken care of on that part.
Okay.
All right. So we don't necessarily need to vote on it. We're just kind of, or do we, Carolyn? And we just need to let Keith go through the process and grant it with the 6 month stipulation.
Yes, that,
And
I think that'd be
Carolyn, but
fine.
I think that would be, once they get the application in here, then we'll go ahead and approve it at our next scheduled meeting.
Okay.
This is Ronnie. I make a motion that we let Keith handle it.
He's our Italian expert, apparently.
See, yeah, he likes spaghetti. Okay.
Hey, what is Mr. Craven's role in all of this now? I must have missed something.
He's
Chris is an,
Go ahead, Keith.
Chris is an attorney here or there in Nashville that presents clients that have issues that come before the board.
Okay.
The names of the companies, one of them is QS Group SPA, another Constructa Systemi. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. And the other is Sayers SPA. That's SARES. And I don't know what it stands for, but it's S period P period A period.
This is Ronnie. It goes back to what I think somebody said earlier. It looks like we've got three different companies trying to come over here, and I'm just wondering, what if we get somebody from Germany or France or somebody like that? We're going to do the same thing.
Well, Chris assured me that this is not a competitive bid situation and that the products they make, they're the only people in the world that make these for this particular project.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that we've got to worry about somebody from Germany coming in, but albeit if it means 1,000 jobs, I don't think we want to say no to that.
I think you just have to look at it on a case by case.
Yes,
If we
exactly.
limit this license to only that.
I think so. I mean, if that's what you want to do, we can stipulate on the license that it's only for that project.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I like that.
Yeah, just get the applications, Keith, and if you know, but that sounds like you got a pretty good handle on it.
Yeah, and once we get all of them, it'll still be a matter if there's any issues at all. I'll make sure it's brought back up before the board at the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Carolyn, do you have anything else? Is there any new business or anything else related to licensing?
Nope.
All right. Anybody else have anything else? Or otherwise, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So move.
Second.
Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Burke,
Yes.
Jerry Hay,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Ronnie,
Yes.
Keith Wood,
Yes.
and
Yes. So the meeting is adjourned. Thanks to everybody for being on the call, and everyone stay safe and stay healthy.